My mother's gaze locked onto mine, her voice cutting through the air. "You'll never measure up to your sister." The room seemed to waver, as if the ground had subtly shifted beneath me. A younger me would have forced a smile, buried the sting, and acted like a sweet treat could erase the pain. Instead, I pushed my chair back, its legs scraping the wooden floor like an alarm. "Then let her cover the bills," I replied, my tone steady but my heartbeat pounding in my chest. My father's drink froze halfway to his lips. "Bills? What bills?" His words carried a mix of confusion and unease. In that fragile moment, I finally claimed my own story. "The mortgage," I said, watching the confidence fade from his expression like ink washing away. "For 3 years, I've been sending money to keep this house afloat." The table fell silent. My sister Elise tilted her head with a practiced look of sympathy that cost her nothing. My mother's smile faltered, a fragile mask clinging to its place. That Friday evening, under the warm glow of the dining light that always made her cooking seem grand, my hidden truth split open like a fracture, and I was done swallowing the quiet. They called me fragile, as if it were a flaw. Fragile at 15, when my math award went unmentioned in the family newsletter. Fragile when Elise claimed another speech prize, and I clapped until my palms ached. Fragile when the bank contacted my mother during a bitter winter I can still taste. Her voice, usually polished and sharp, reached me trembling and raw. "Nora, if we miss this payment, they'll send a warning next week." At 25, a budget analyst in Portland with a plan for everything, I even tracked the unseen costs of loyalty. I had a deposit saved for a future home, a balcony to catch the dawn, a chair that felt just right. I agreed to save the house because my mother's voice broke with every word, and I thought family meant sharing the burden. Just this once became a monthly routine, a silent offering to a deity that never acknowledged me. I set the transfers to auto-pay on the 15th so I wouldn't see my hands betray me. When I checked my banking app, I told myself I was preserving time, not losing myself. 3 years later, the number was 77. All I owned was weariness. So on the night I spoke the figure aloud, my father raised his chin like a judge weighing a case. "We're grateful for your support," he said cautiously, "but raising it at dinner is out of line." The word lingered, sharp and toxic. My mother dabbed her napkin to her mouth. "No one forced you to keep it up." Elise's fork rested on her plate, her eyes lowered, as if the truth was too bright to face. I nearly laughed. Out of line was for wearing sneakers to a memorial, not for holding up a home with raw effort to keep it from the bank's grasp. But I understood them. A tale is easier to inhabit if you erase the messy parts. I'd let them erase me for so long, I'd become a ghost in my own existence. After dinner, I drove home through Portland's gentle rain, the kind that softens streetlights and turns the city into a place for quiet truths. My apartment greeted me with its familiar solitude, a loyal shadow trailing me to the kitchen. I opened my laptop, found the scheduled payment, and paused. The cursor pulsed like a heartbeat. "Cancel. Are you sure?" My finger trembled as I clicked yes, and the relief was so sharp it stung, like warmth flooding a numb hand. I pulled the folder from the bottom drawer, the one that proved I wasn't dreaming it all. Month by month, bank statements fanned across the table like a map of sacrifice. Some months were $500, others were heavier. When a message called it a hard month, I sent $2,000, a bitter taste of obligation. I tallied the totals, the pencil line under $72,000 like a wound. Pain shrinks you. Choice expands you. The next morning, I tied my sneakers and ran by the river until my chest burned, until the air felt lighter inside me. I signed up for a Wednesday cooking class, where my dish finally won praise I didn't pay for with my soul. I took on bigger projects at work because numbers never labeled me emotional. They just spoke the truth I asked for. When my boss stopped by my desk one evening and said, "Your focus is unique," my throat caught with a joy so new I barely knew it. A month later, a Seattle tech firm offered more pay, shares, and a role that valued my mind like a sanctuary, not a cash machine. I printed the offer and pressed my hand to the page as if the words could feel my gratitude. Leaving didn't feel like loss. The city had seen me stay loyal to a home that forgot me. It could watch me go. In Seattle, I stood on a new balcony, the Space Needle piercing the skyline, and felt the world lean toward me for once. When the numbers said I could buy my own place, I toured apartments with windows wide like open skies swallowing light. The one I picked held sunrise like a vow. I turned the key, stepped into the empty space, and said, "Mine." The word needed no one's approval. That night, I shared a photo of the view with 2 words, "Fresh start." I set my phone down when Elise's text came. "You're incredible. Why keep it from us?" I poured a glass of wine and answered the only person who needed to hear it, me. The Space Needle, glowing against a Seattle dusk, should have been just a marker of my freedom. But days later, a call from Mrs. Jensen broke that fragile peace. Her voice held the same warmth and worry I'd known since childhood. "Nora, you should know," she said, then sent an image. A banner hung across my parents' house, bold red letters proclaiming what they wanted the world to believe. "Congratulations, Elise, for saving our home." The words burned through me. I could almost hear the slice of scissors cutting me from every memory, every effort, every transfer. Sitting in my apartment, Seattle's skyline before me, the air grew thick with betrayal. They weren't just ignoring me, they were rewriting the past, draping Elise in my sacrifices. My body went cold, then hot, then empty. I reached for the folder I'd never discarded. Every statement, every receipt, every text from my mother starting with "just this once." The weight of the papers grounded me. I wasn't imagining it. I hadn't invented the years I traded for their survival. Grief hardened into a steady fire of determination. They could raise banners, throw celebrations, and plaster Elise's name across the walls. But I had proof. The numbers, the dates, the desperate pleas sent in the dark. It was all there, irrefutable. That night I didn't sleep. I spread the statements across my table, entering every transfer into a new spreadsheet, turning pain into data and visuals, as if building a case for court. The line of payments climbed like a ridge, each bar a reminder of what I'd given. At the top, 70,000 stood bold, a figure louder than any excuse. I added the texts, 236 just this once promises, a refrain I'd been taught to trust. I labeled it the oath, just this once 36 times. My hands shook, not with fear, but with the clarity of a blade finally honed. I bound the report, printed backups, and slipped a USB into my bag. When my cousin Sarah called to murmur about a family celebration dinner in Seattle, my choice was set. This wouldn't be another night of cheers for Elise and silence for me. The truth would step into the light. At the dinner, I stood outside the radiant restaurant, watching relatives arrive cloaked in pride. Through the glass, I saw Elise in a sapphire dress, shining in her stolen glory, my parents beside her, faces beaming with contentment. I entered as the slideshow started, each image a cut deeper, the house under snow, Elise on the porch, captions thick with praise. My father's voice echoed through the room. "We're so lucky Elise saved our home." The applause surged. Forks tapped plates, glasses lifted high. Then the final slide changed, not to words for Elise, but to a graph of transfers. Silence crashed over the room. I stepped forward, heels clicking, the USB already unraveling their polished lie. My heart raced, but my voice held firm. "If the truth shames you," I said, eyes on my parents, "that's not my burden." Gasps rippled through the crowd. My report lit up the screen, numbers rising, texts laid bare for all to see. 3 years, $72,000. Uncles and aunts whispered, cousins stared in shock. The applause this time wasn't for Elise. It started softly, then roared until the room trembled. My mother's lips quivered. My father clutched the microphone like it could steady him. Elise lowered her head, shamed. I stood, no longer invisible, but the one wielding the truth. The applause wasn't victory, it was freedom, chains breaking one by one. Under the warm lights, my evidence loomed behind me. For the first time, I wasn't pleading to be noticed. I was unassailable. My father's face hardened, his eyes flicking to relatives already murmuring. My mother's posture slumped, her mouth trembling as if tears might come, though none did. Elise sat, hands clasped, eyes glistening with disgrace. Her sapphire dress now a costume that burned to wear. I pointed to the screen, clear and direct. "This is the truth. 3 years, $72,000. Without it, the house would be gone. You know it, I know it. Now so does everyone." The room erupted again, not with polite claps, but with a stir of judgment, whispers sharp as blades. I caught pieces. "She carried it alone. How could they take the credit?" Unacceptable. The air had changed, and their crafted image was unsalvageable. The show was over, the facade torn away. I let the silence linger, then lowered my hand. I'd said enough. Truth doesn't need volume, it needs breath. I walked out, every eye on me, my heels hitting the floor like a judge's gavel. The Seattle night greeted me, crisp and clear. I paused on the steps, breathing in the starlit sky, feeling the air cleanse me like a renewal. Inside, their story had crumbled. Outside, mine had begun. Relief surged through me, not sweet, not triumphant, but raw, aching freedom from a burden that was never mine. I hadn't come to ruin them, but I wouldn't let them ruin me either. 2 days later, a knock came at my door. Peering through the peephole, my breath caught. My parents. My mother's eyes were red from tears, her frame wrapped in a coat too large for her now. My father seemed diminished, his once commanding presence muted, hands deep in his pockets. Against my instincts, I opened the door. They stepped in hesitant, as if my apartment's brightness exposed them. My mother spoke first, voice shaky. "Nora, we're sorry. We were wrong. We should have honored you, not let you bear it alone. After the other night we talked. We'll put your name on the deed. You've earned it." For a moment the younger me stirred, the girl who craved their approval, who swallowed guilt like a pill and hoped for recognition. But standing in my own space, my keys shining on the counter, walls painted in my chosen hues, I realized something. I didn't need their documents, their house, their late apologies. I shook my head, calm but firm. I have my own home now, my own life. I don't need to be anchored to the past. The words hit harder than anger could. My mother's lips parted, then closed. My father cleared his throat. "But that was your effort, your sacrifice. It's yours by right," I cut in softly. "What I deserve isn't your deed, it's respect, and you couldn't give me that." My father looked away, my mother's shoulders shook, but I didn't waver. I'd built something stronger than their validation. When they left, the silence wasn't heavy, it was vast. I sat by the window, watching lights dance on the river, every moment of the past 3 years settling into focus. Those nights of sending money, the tears I hid after every meal, the countless promises I trusted, all of it had forged me into iron. I didn't resent the sacrifices anymore. They'd shaped a strength I hadn't known I possessed. I no longer wanted their table because I'd built my own. That night, leaning back in my chair, something inside me released forever. I wasn't Elise's shadow, the fragile one, the overlooked daughter. I was Nora, the woman who saved a home, stepped away from its silence, and built a life with her own hands. I didn't need their story, I'd written my own. Deep within, a truth shone, not just for me, but for anyone who'd been erased. Your value isn't in the roles others assign you or the shadows they push you into. It's in the strength you forge, the truth you refuse to hide, and the courage to stand in your own light. Thank you for hearing this story. If it resonated, if you've ever felt unseen and had to carve your own way, know you're not alone.